He's a cop.
It's a murder case now.
She's a detective.
I'm his partner, Ryan McBride.
And he's...
I'm a lifeguard.
Oh, really?
Together, they're a team turning up the heat.
But I'm keeping my day job.
From the producers of Baywatch, the world's most popular show, David Hasselhoff, Baywatch Nights.
Schmat, and it's another time for us to go back to Baywatch, more specifically Baywatch Nights, and even more specifically Baywatch Nights Season 1A. And joining me in this journey through Baywatch Nights is, as usual, Neill Stringer, Ian Lawler, and guys, introduce yourselves.
I'm Ian Lawler from Laying Down the Lawler podcast.
Hello, I'm Neill Stringer. I co-produce and co-edit Chat Schmat with Jonny Porter.
Neill, what's your take, just your initial take on the few episodes that you've seen?
The first season tries to be more of a conventional private eye show, doesn't it? It's kind of like Mitch being a private detective outside of his lifeguard duties, but it also feels like a detective show from the 80s rather than a 90s show. It seems very cliched in that style, but at the same time it has these weird storylines, not as weird as season 2, but weird storylines that just seem like, I'm asking, what were they smoking in the writer's room? I mean, we've got David Hasselhoff in drag, we got rollerblading burglars. I mean, really, it's so surreal. I mean, and that's just tipping the iceberg. But I think also it's a bit confusing that we're just kind of thrown in the deep end with these characters. There's no explanation whatsoever about them until much later in the show, due to the early order being shifted around.
Ian, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, let's start off with the good. You know, the chemistry between Mitch, Ryan, and Garner is very, very good. There's no denying they have chemistry. Season 1 feels like a procedural. It's a bit like Law and Order in places. But for me, it's how it's written. The writing, to me, isn't as entertaining as Season 2. It doesn't have the outlandish plots and supernatural and X-Files elements. To me, it just comes across a bit boring. And while the characters have great chemistry, I just don't think they're written well at all. You know, to me, Garner just comes across as a joke. Ryan has a lot of potential, and Mitch, for the guy who's been the lead in Baywatch for so long, they certainly don't do him justice either. You know, he makes some really poor decisions, and it just, look, Baywatch, nobody's ever going to tell you that Baywatch was brilliantly written. But maybe the whole thing about it's true, you know, the saying is true. You don't watch Baywatch for the stories, you watch it for the eye candy. This show loses the eye candy in as much as there's not as many girls in bikinis.
You know, some people think the beach closes after the sun goes down. That's when it really starts to heat up, especially if you're a PI. Now, I know what you're thinking. Mitch is a lifeguard. What does he know about being a PI? Well, they both involve rescuing people. Turns out my best friend Garner went partners in a bankrupt detective agency with a beautiful brunette PI who left New York for the California sun and adventure. What can I say? When someone yells help, I jump in with both feet. And I hope you do too, as we introduce a new series of private eye adventures called Baywatch Nights. Sit back and enjoy the ride.
Neill, what was because I mean, I think you were definitely more on board about the whole thing necessarily than Ian would have been, for example. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's like we're in a bizarre world, not exactly the Twilight Zone, although you might as well call it the coffee zone with the amount of coffee that Mitch always seems to drink in the show, or because he always seems to have a cup of coffee with him no matter where he's at.
Regular or hazelnut decaf? Nothing beats that special Nescafe blend and roast to get you started in the morning.
Make me a cup too, Gareth.
Certainly are.
But there is a surreal, inept feeling to the show, because it's like, it's one of those shows where I would love to have been in the writer's room, because I would just want to know where these story ideas came from. Because, I mean, we have a character called Destiny, who's a psychic, but they don't really do much with the character, and they don't act surprised or shocked at this. It's just treated like it's another day at the office with her.
I believe destiny always leads to trouble. I don't mean destiny as in fate or the future. I mean a slightly bubble-headed person named Destiny DeSimone.
Cosmic combo.
How about Destiny?
Oh, give me a break. Hey, look, she's a sweet kid, but her elevator does not go all the way to the top.
Uh-oh. Your aura just hiccuped.
Destiny says she saw the lady from Scotland strangled. She wasn't physically there, she was psychically there. Okay, it's weird.
Man, look, Mitch, I like Destiny. It's hard not to. But you gotta admit, the girl is a little space cadet at times.
She's harmless.
You got the hots for her.
Hey!
I've decided to keep my brain empty of all thoughts.
Well, if anyone can do that, you can.
Thanks, Mitch.
Buy a cup of coffee?
Okay.
Along the beach and at amusement parks and things, psychics are more acceptable, especially with police work as well, because they did hint at that in some of the episodes, that she could perhaps be helping them with a case. But the actual character of Destiny was kind of written as a sort of an airhead, wasn't she?
The other thing that I like, but at the same time I think it's very clunky, is the private eye voiceover that Mitch does. Yeah, Mitch makes these analogies and comments that either come across sexist, stupid, or the least profound thing you can ever say. Like in one episode, he does actually say, the difference between being a lifeguard and a private eye is that a lifeguard runs in the sand, a private eye runs in everything else. And I'm thinking, yeah, thanks for that little bit of input there, Mitch.
It's kind of copying those kind of the Peter Gunn TV series and those Humphrey Bogart movies, and the different sort of private eyes over the years, where they do the voiceover. But it's like it's the style is there, but they're not really mimicking it very well.
It just comes across like a bunch of wannabes.
My dad told me that every once in a while you meet a woman so beautiful that it knocks the wind out of you. Maybe today was my turn.
Fantastic, great.
Ryan McBride grew up in Texas and got her PI license in New York. Women can really complicate your life, especially if your partner's with one. It's an explosive combination. Hey, guys.
Hey,
Trust me. Anything happening?
we got a job.
When I was 8, I got my first Major League Baseball. One day, Matt McGinty, he was 12. Well, he walks up to me and he says, hey, give me your ball. I said, make me. He did. That was a mistake I've never forgotten. In Little League, I was a pitcher. My catcher and I communicated through signs. One finger was a fastball. 2 fingers, a curve. Holding hands is a sign, too. But I didn't know the game she was playing or the rules. Only one way to find out. When she's not reading tarot cards on the beach, Destiny likes to help out in the office. It sure would be nice if she came with a set of instructions.
Damn, we're good.
And also, I saw the clip of Mitch talking in regular Baywatch where he says, you know, I want to be a private eye. And then when it comes to Baywatch Nights, he's going, oh crap, come on, Garner. I was going to give that money to Hobie's college fund. Oh, I can't be bothered. You know, it feels like, did he have a cardiac transplant between spin-offs or something?
But the other thing about that actually is, you know, I feel that rather than the Peter Gunn, the Humphrey Bogart type, you know, voiceover, it sounds more like Mitch's internal monologue, but we can hear it. It's just his thought process.
I mean, it's kind of like, you know, like I always say, voiceover can either make or break. Whereas a film like Blade Runner is much better without the voiceover, because voiceover doesn't really have anything unless you want the film noir approach, but it doesn't really do anything. And I feel like the voiceover has to add something. If voiceover could just feel clunky when it states the bloody obvious. And no offense, but Mitch trying to be a private eye, I mean, you just can't buy it. It's just losing. I mean, the thing is, Mitch is the face of the company, isn't he? But it's Garner and Ryan who do all the proper detective work. But Mitch is the face. Mitch is the one they always go to get the keys. But they don't seem to make enough money, but yet they seem to have enough money for disguises. So that must be what their budget goes towards. I mean, the number of disguises that they've had in the first half of season 1 alone is incredible. I mean, and sometimes it's like, why are you doing that? I mean, the one that sticks out for me is the one where Mitch is dressed as a mime artist. It's funny as hell, but at the same time, you go, why did you decide to be a mime artist?
He didn't just dress as a mime artist, he dressed as a bad mime artist.
Hi there. If you've been enjoying our content, we'd be extremely grateful if you could like the video and comment. We're always happy to hear, interested to see your take on things. But more importantly than that, if you can subscribe, and if you can also click on the bell thingy, because that will let you know when the video is there. And we're trying to get to 100 subscribers, so if you can see your way to, you know, helping us out there, that would be amazing. Anyway, back to the video.
Let's have a quick chat about the relationship, because even within the few episodes that we've seen, there's a Garner Mitch, and then there's a Garner Ryan, and then there's a Mitch Ryan. So, you know, those relationships do change over the episodes. So what, I mean, whoever wants to say it, you know, can jump in, but, you know, what are your thoughts on, do you think it works? Do you think they had a plan with this, or is it very ham-fisted?
For me, Garner and Mitch has always worked. It worked on Baywatch. It works on Nights. Garner and Ryan works fine. And Ryan and Mitch, I sometimes, there's no consistency with that relationship. You know, you're never quite sure what's going on with them. They can be flirty with each other, and then in another episode, they're very standoffish, and then they're back to being flirty, and they take it in turns to flirt. You know, sometimes it's Mitch, sometimes it's Ryan. So I don't know if they had a plan with that.
When we get Ryan's sister, we'll talk about that more in a minute. But in that episode, just as an example, you've got Mitch going off on a jet ski type thing, and she's like, you know, got her arms around him. Her sister Charlie has her arms around him. You know, I think that's an interesting little look into Ryan's side of things there.
But also, as a little thing about Mitch is, how long does it take him to hit on a woman who comes into the office?
Yeah, but in that episode, mind you, he didn't actually. It was weird because he was kind of suspicious of Ryan's sister, conveniently.
I think the real reason Mitch decided to be a private eye is, you know, if I let Garner around to the hard work, this could be a good way for me to meet chicks.
But the thing with that is, you know, Mitch has never had any problem meeting women. I mean, again, you go back to the original Baywatch, he meets plenty of women. So I just think, again, it's doing the character even more of a disservice with the way they do it in Baywatch Nights.
Also, you gotta love his Adidas jacket in Nights. It's the the massive sponsorship from Adidas, I'm assuming.
Do you think they do garner justice in season 1? I'm not convinced they do, because for me, he could be, he's got the police background. To me, I actually think they missed an opportunity. It is very strange having a spin-off with the lead actor being the same as the current show. I think the lead actor should have actually been Garner in that show.
When the series was first on, it used to be on ITV. I wondered that exact same thing. I thought, why on earth is Hasselhoff the main star of this? If he hasn't got any police background at all.
I know they do. They do poke fun that most of the main characters and put them in ridiculous situations. But I always thought Garner, was used for comedy probably more than any other character. And I thought that was a shame. All the characters have been used for comedy, but I think Garner is probably used the most for comedy, and he should be the one that's got the background that should be showing Mitch and Ryan how to do this job.
He should be showing them the ropes, I think, is what you're trying to say. And I think it's okay to have the Lethal Weapon vibe, because there's humor there. But the problem, I think, is they went for the humor, but they didn't add the nuances.
That character is great at the comedy. He showed that in Baywatch. He's a police officer that patrols the beach, but he doesn't like sand. So there's comedy in that, but he also catches bad guys. So
he's more of a buffoon. He's more of a buffoon, isn't he?
Also, Garner does have the best wardrobe in the show as well. He's got the best wardrobe.
You take the episode where they dress in drag. Mitch goes undercover in drag, but just so that they can have a bit of fun, they put Garner in drag, and they say he has to dress like Whoopi Goldberg, but for no real reason. There was no reason in that episode for him to be in drag other than just, let's poke fun at Garner. They don't give you clear indications of what's going on with Garner. If you watch the original Baywatch, he's pigeonholed in his job. He punched out his superior, so he's in a dead-end position doing the grunt work. So he gives it up. As Mitch said, he's going through a bit of a midlife crisis, and he becomes this private detective. But that's not made brilliantly clear in the start of Nights.
But the thing is, it comes across as Garner has wants this agency, wants to be a private detective, and Mitch comes in for reasons because he wants to be a private himself, but somehow is reluctant to do it, even though he wants it, and strips in, becomes the face, and takes it all away from Garner. The other thing that doesn't help the story is the fact that they actually aired the pilot episode 8th. Also, I think what someone said about, the one where they're undercover in the fast food chicken shop, because obviously this chicken shop had been robbed 5 times. And you kind of think, 1, these burglars mustn't have big plans, and 2, do you know how long it takes to train to be to work in a fast food restaurant? You just can't walk in and just start being undercover. Alison on Baywatch Nights said it was like one of the greatest scenes in filmmaking history when he grabs the whole chicken and throws it in the face.
Do we need to talk about bad plates? I guess so.
Well, first things first, it's so impractical to commit robberies while on rollerblades. And as
there is a trend at the moment. There is a trend over the last few years of people wearing these shoes with wheels in them, wheelies or something. I don't know what you call them. So people wander about the streets doing vlogging with wheels on their shoes. So, I guess if you're practiced enough, you could.
Yeah, but you're gonna do a big somersault on wheelies, are you? Grabbing boxes of TVs and all that there.
It's surprisingly, it was entertaining. And it's surprisingly, again, doing a bit of research, it seems to be a fan favorite episode, which surprised me. The bit I love is, there's a chase where they're trying to get into a van, make their getaway. Mitch and Garner, I think, are chasing in a car or whatever, and these roller skaters are getting thrown out of the van every few seconds, and they always land on a big pile of cardboard boxes every single time. I just can't help feeling like it's hilarious, but couldn't they have shot that better? That it just looks like they were just chucked out of the van and.
Rather than having a bunch of conveniently placed cardboard boxes every 6
hours.
Exactly.
I was rewatching Inferno, Doctor Who, and there's a scene where the Doctor and this guy jumps onto Bessie, and he's driving along. There's a bit of a car chase scene, and he just flings the person off the car and conveniently lands in some hay or whatever it is. You know.
I want to know. I really do. I said it earlier. I do want to know what the writers' room was like. Did they go? Do you know what would be really good? Burglars on rollerblades. And I've noticed that in season 1 they do the montage of and in the montage, I think it's a thing from the regular Baywatch. And I think the montage that makes me laugh is when Ryan's undercover as a phone sex operator, and you just see Mitch and Garner in the car listening to her, and they're just going, yeah. It's good. She's really good. Yeah, she's good. Like that there. And it's just.
I really like Garner and Mitch sitting in the car and Ryan struggling, and Garner decides to show her how you do it, the job, and he starts talking all sexy and again being used for the comic relief. But it was just how much effort Garner was putting into it.
Oh, how divine. A phone sex operator. Mother will be so proud.
Sugar, this is candy on your lap. How's about turning me on?
Oh, Mitch. Oh, Mitch, you're so wonderful. Kiss me. Please, just kiss me. Oh, it'd be so... Oh! Hey, big boy. Ooh, you sound really hot. I just love to eat you up with a spoon. No, not you. No, sorry, Ray. No.
It's worth noting that those seem to have been directed by and produced by Gregory Bonin, one of the main guys behind the main Baywatch show. So it would be interesting to have him on here at some point to grill him on some of the choices. But also, I mean, that's the MTV style of the 90s. There's a lot of shows that mention that.
It felt like one of those videos, one where you have like the spoken sexy voice in the middle of the song, because he keeps cutting into Ryan going, hey, big boy, or where's that effect, Then wasn't there another episode where when someone's getting beaten up, we have a close up of Gary playing a saxophone? But at the same time, you think, guys, sorry, I can't help you. I'm just playing the sax here. I'm playing a bit blue.
It was a trope in 90s TV. There were a lot of other shows that had a similar type of thing. I'm thinking sort of like Red Shoe Diaries, and there's another show which was on Channel 5 called Hotline, which was like they always ended up with their kid off. But there was always this saxophone-y kind of like montage of various things happening. But they seem to do it on Baywatch. They seem to do it with much more expertise, although you could argue that some of the scenes they used it in for Baywatch Nights, it really didn't need it.
I think the blues element, set the atmosphere for the whole show. And, when it lost that, I was a bit sad because I really liked that sort of music with the show. It gave it an identity, which I think it lost.
If we talk about the pressure cooker episode with Lou, one of the things with the music and things is that's an episode where he gets elevated to do much more. And the question you have to ask is, what in the ham sandwich is going on with Lou?
Again, he was a character that was probably, in some ways, not utilized to its full potential. I think there's one episode he gets shot, right? And what he says is he was lucky he got shot in the love handles, wasn't that what he said? But then he sort of just comes and goes. He's in a couple of scenes at the end of episodes. Yeah, again, very underused. Baywatch is actually the name of the organization that runs the lifeguarding on the beach. Nights is the name of the club. So it's not Baywatch Nights, it's just Nights. And Baywatch is the name of the lifeguarding organization.
It is Los Angeles, isn't it? That's where it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the thing is also, I guess that's why, they always think night, because everyone says, Mitch, it's a lot of daytime for a show called Baywatch Nights, but at the same time, everyone forgets sometimes it's actually nice because of the nightclubs called Nights. Because the whole joke about Baywatch Nights is, if Mitch is a night lifeguard during the day and PI at night, where does he get time to sleep?
Yeah, but it's also the theme tune is After the Sun Goes Down, so it's contradictory, isn't it?
And also,
I know it is.
Again, they didn't do a good job of explaining this, but in proper Baywatch, you see Mitch reducing his hours drastically so that he can be the detective. But again, there's no mention of that in the show.
But there is times where I feel like Baywatch Nights should be an instructional video of how not to be a private detective. Also, Mitch should be keeping it professional. He shouldn't be getting in bed with the clients. I think it's a very unprofessional for a private eye to get.
How many of the women does he actually bed with?
Oh, not a few, but even in the first episode, the woman who turned out to be the killer, he did spend the night with her, didn't he?
He did.
And if we go back to the phone sex episode, there was because there was a lot of random stuff that just showed up, and there was Michael Winslow from Police Academy was there doing the sound effects on in the back of a van when he was Garner was trying to find the laptop, or he's actually trying to call this mysterious person that they couldn't get hold of, and they find it in this car about to be crushed with a corpse. And I think that's an early example in 90s TV shows of using technology to, in today's shows like NCIS and so on, they're using GPS and pinging people and all sorts of things. And that was one of the first examples of that sort of thing. I thought it was interesting, but it was very randomly put in there. I find that they've got a good concept and they just throw it in there. And, it's unlike a lot of shows like NCIS, they incorporate that into their whole plot. That was just a random one. There's stuff like that all over the show, isn't there?
I think what makes it even more random is the fact that they have Michael Winslow, who's just doing his Jones thing from Police Academy. I mean, what was the point of Michael Winslow being there other than just to have him do that Jones thing?
It's a paycheck,
It rings, but not in her office. A machine picks up, but we can't find it. Think you can do it? Hey. Piece of cake. Interference.
And on that note, I think it's time for us to say goodbye for this episode. It's been fun looking back at this series. We will do a more in-depth season one when we've watched it all. We'll definitely do a much more in-depth, but it was good to catch ourselves up on what we've been watching and what have we been watching. We still don't know. But for the moment, thanks to all the viewers and listeners to Schmat, and thanks again to my guests for joining me today and my co-host Neill. But for me, Jonny Porter, that's it for now. Bye.
Bye for me, everyone. It's been fun.
Bye-bye. It was great fun reliving the memories of this wonderful, surreal show. Until next time, bye.